Weapon balance finally feels pretty solid, especially melee. These are my thoughts on all the melees after the most recent patch. Knife, great single target, Shadow Stab is incredible against bosses, probably my least used if I have an option though. I usually take balance or block relic, as relic fencing doesn't do enough damage. I honestly like the fencing combat knife. I don't use it for damage, I obviously use it to parry, but with tactical, you can get a lot of extra damage with those swings anyway, as far as, you can scan the target when you parry them. And then you also get extra melee damage for gun strikes. So yeah, tactical can honestly make use of anything. So the fencing combat knife for tactical is actually very valuable. Chainsword, great general use with really good single target through full throttle skipping. Horde clear is okay. My favorite weapon to run block, always relic. Yeah, the blocking chainsword is really good. The chainsword is just a great weapon, to be completely honest. Horde clear is okay. I think horde clear is pretty good because you get the stomps, right? But yes, the full throttle skipping, I definitely need to learn that a little bit because that does seem very, very useful when it comes to higher difficulties. Power Sword now has a great crowd clear and single target with Power Whirl and Power Rake, while being a little fiddly, fencing or top left balance. Okay, yeah, so I did notice Power Sword has a couple different balance modes. I'm not too sure why. So yeah, let me know in the comments if you think any of the balanced Power Swords are worth using. Power Fist, best big target melee and can also be used to hit flying enemies. High risk and high reward due to the charge time and slow animations. The only weapon where I constantly utilize lock on. Relic, balance, or Artificer block because you want as much damage per hit. Relic, balance, or Artificer block because you want as much damage per hit. That's right, the Artificer Power Fist is very powerful. Relic, balance. Yeah, the last time I used the Power Fist, I was using a fencing version on the Bulwark, and of course I was going for those charge attacks because of the Bulwark's Prestige perk. You can buff those charge attacks, so it's very, very useful. High risk, high reward is definitely how I describe it, but I still think the Power Fist has some great fast comboing as well, and you can mix in charge attacks within those fast combos when you find a, moment for it, so I don't know, I really enjoy the Power Fist. But so far, they're pretty much on point with all the melee weapons. Hammer, the only weapon exclusive to a single class now. Oh, wow, I never really thought of it like that. Yeah. I mean, dude, honestly, it makes sense. The Thunder Hammer is an assault weapon. I don't want to see the Thunder Hammer on any other class. Unless they can, like, two-hand it or something. I don't know. Synchronizes with ground pound better than all other melees, especially if you run precision strikes. Block Hammer is king for max ground pound and aftershock damage, as your light attack is kind of worthless. Yeah, for the Thunder Hammer? Yeah, kind of. Also, the balanced Thunder Hammer is really good because, yeah, you still get the parries, so you can still get the, you can still utilize the increased gun strike damage on the Assault class. But yeah, I obviously like the blocking Thunderhammer as well. I played a lot of the blocking Thunderhammer, and I'm actually getting ready to start grinding the Assault class more. So I'm definitely very excited to go back to using a lot of melees. I have tried the Power Sword on the Assault class, but it does feel like the ground pound doesn't do enough damage with the Power Sword. But the Power Sword, I still think is a perfectly viable pick for the Assault class, but I think it still feels a little bit better on, like, gun builds, where you kind of can, like, parry and gun strike and get, like, perfect dodges and stuff. But still, the Power Sword is still going to be a great weapon to complement the Assault class. The Assault class has a few builds now, so, the Power Sword has to fit in somewhere, essentially. But yeah, I want to go into the comments. I also, just wanted to point out that the reason I'm really covering this is because, melee combat, when the game launched, was in a pretty weird spot. So I kind of want to gauge the community's reaction to see if they think, melee is in a better spot now. I know melee's in a better spot, but, like, how much more work do you think melee needs to become balanced? But I think right now, it's pretty balanced. So, hey, we will see what people are discussing in the comments. So let me know how you feel about the state of melee at the moment. I think it's in a really good spot. Is block even worth it with the hammer? What? I find it hard to land any hits when the enemy is spamming attacks and I have to constantly block hard to find openings without parries. When they aren't spamming attacks, they are blocking. I mean, yeah, that's just, you know, those are just Tyranids and, yeah, I don't think Rubric Marines block, right? For the most part, yeah, the blocking can be annoying. I think, honestly, the blocking Thunderhammer is really good to protect yourself during charge attacks because you get that, like, you know, you get the first swipe in for the charge attack and then go in for the second swipe. That first swipe is definitely going to trigger the blocking benefits. So you can essentially go for a charge attack and hit them twice with huge damage because you get the charge attack damage and then you also get that explosive attack damage from the blocking stacks. So you can also protect yourself that way, considering that you get the armor back when you go for that first swipe for the charge. And ultimately, when they are blocking, I kind of just, yeah, you can go in for the charge attacks if you want. Sometimes the running attacks are pretty good when they're blocking. I guess it really depends, though. Honestly, I would just ground pound them anyway. If they're, you know, surrounded by other mobs and whatnot, definitely just jump in there, get a ground pound, take out whatever mobs you can, go for the charge attack. If they unfortunately shoot you out of that charge attack, which happens a lot in Absolute, sorry. Yeah, sometimes charge attacks in Absolute can just be a little bit too risky. Ultimately, though, if you just keep moving and find your opportunity for the ground pounds and the charge attacks, you can still take out a fair amount of majors. But yeah, I would go for the ones that aren't blocking with the ground pound and then go back to the blocking ones. Just find your opportunities, basically. And yeah, it can definitely be a little bit tedious to queue up those charge attacks because you can get sniped or whatever. But you can also ground pound those snipers. And yeah, go and have really fun times from there. You really just need to find good targets first and then just start to dwindle down the mobs. So even if they are blocking, it doesn't really matter. If they're spamming attacks, that's why you just need to stay moving. You know, find some walls in between you and snipers while you go for your attacks. But yeah, ultimately, this is why it's kind of tough to run the Thunderhammer. Sometimes it can be a little bit tough to find those opportunities. I run Blockhammer, and there are some ways to get in the big smashes. Stand behind the bulwark like a creep and charge up while he holds the line. Okay, that's pretty interesting. Use sprint attack or jump pack smash to unleash your block charges. Yes, they're reliable. And the block damage boost lasts for about a second and a half after the initial hit. The sprint attack comes out fast, and there's a follow-up thrust. Then you can follow up again with a smash combo. Yeah, boom. Dude, the sprint attack for the Thunderhammer does feel really good. But yeah, obviously to set it up for charge attacks is how I use it mostly as well. Charge Aftershock. As enemies are approaching, or at spawn points, if you need to block cancel, you can. Flank and focus on Aftershocking enemies that aren't focused on you. Hey, yeah, you know what? The Assault class definitely has some pretty good flanking capabilities. Maybe we need to utilize it a little bit more. Position wisely, and remember that most attacks have forward motion. Charge Aftershock even when it's risky. Just learn how to safely block cancel if needed. Yeah, the block canceling definitely helps out a lot, I will admit. Honestly, blocking is really good to protect yourself with it once you get, you know, used to it. But yeah, ultimately, they are on point with this. Charge Aftershock as enemies are approaching. Yeah, that's definitely a good strategy. And yeah, flanking assault classes, you'd think we'd see more of that, but yeah, I mean, honestly, for operations, it never really came to mind you could just flank enemies. I kind of just jump right in there with my jetpack and just slam down. I am here once again to preach the good word and declare Artificer Block Chainsword, the king of chainswords. Speed is the most important stat. Yes, an Artificer weapon can be better than the relic weapons. Don't be fooled by the classification system. It is a ruse of the enemy. May the Emperor protect you. Okay, fair points. Yeah, the Artificer Chainsword, for whatever reasons, like one of the fastest weapons in the game. It is pretty comparable to a combat knife with how fast it is. It's kind of insane. It's honestly very fun to use. It is the block chainsword specifically. So if you want to use a very fast weapon, but also, you know, want to learn blocking a little bit, I would definitely suggest using the Artificer Block Chainsword, because I think the weapon is strong enough on its own that even if you mess up a couple blocks, you should still be good in that encounter, just because of how fast it is and how reliable the chainsword is. But yes, it is also a really good weapon to just kind of learn blocking with, because even though it is pretty good without blocking, you're definitely going to find yourself getting more used to blocking, because you're going to, start to recognize the moments. Honestly, with blocking weapons, it just takes practice. It really just takes practice, and once you get a hold of it, it gets really, really fun. I really enjoy blocking. I use blocking most of the time with the Assault class, sometimes with Vanguard, but honestly, I think using blocking with the Tactical is definitely really good right now. Tactical is just overall super good. Any melee weapon the Tactical gets their hands on, they're definitely going to be able to find ways to, utilize it as much as possible. But yeah, for the most part, the Artificer blocking chainsword is definitely a great melee weapon to pick up. We've talked about this weapon quite a bit, so I do think it fits into this video, because this video is basically breaking down, the state of melee over the past couple patches. And overall, I'm definitely very happy with what we have, but I do find these unique stats for Artificer weapons kind of interesting, so I hope they don't really, nerf them for no reason. If they do adjust some of the stats to kind of, put it over in Relic, like maybe the Relic blocking chainsword becomes faster than the Artificer version, I wouldn't be upset with that, but if they just end up nerfing the Artificer weapons, that would be a little upsetting, to be completely honest. That would be a bit of a bummer. But yeah, ultimately, I think the state of melee is in a really, really good spot. I remember months ago when we were talking about how bad melee is, and now we have really, really good melee weapons that are very fun to use, and, basically bring a bit of a unique way to approach the game with each melee weapon. So I definitely think they, knocked it out of the park with adjusting melee weapons, and overall, I find the state of melee to be, a success. So yeah, let me know in the comments if you had any ideas that, could improve melee, or if you just have any thoughts about the state of melee. Because overall, we are definitely looking forward to a new weapon, and if that weapon's a melee weapon, that would be kind of interesting.